Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Stipulations. Let's start off with number one. This was an arrest without warrant. Am I correct?
You are correct, sir.
I'm sorry. It is correct?
You are correct, sir.
All right. So that means momentarily that the state has the burden. Number two, was this by a law enforcement officer?
Yes, it was, sir.
You want to share with me which department or?
San Antonio Police Department, sir.
So this was a frog,
Yes, sir.
San Antonio police officer. So we're going to stipulate that he is a licensed peace officer, state of Texas. Ms. Whitman?
Yes, Your Honor. He is a licensed peace officer.
All right. And we're going to stipulate that was trained with the, apparently received training probably with the San Antonio Police Department Academy, that he was on duty at the time of the arrest, more than
No.
likely?
That actually will be, that will be one of the issues, Judge, that he was on duty, because he was not
Okay.
on duty.
So the issue on duty is in question. All right. And the arrest was, well, what else can we stipulate? Save a little time. I don't need the dog and pony show for everything. Anything else, Mr. Edelman, Ms. Whitman?
Nothing that springs
Okay.
to mind, Your Honor.
All right, then we will proceed, Mr. Edelman, based on the stipulation. It is your burden. Call your witness.
Officer, will you please identify yourself for the court?
It's Officer Stephen Prescott, San Antonio Police Department.
And would you please spell your first and last name for the record?
Stephen, last name Prescott, Prescott.
How are you currently employed?
With the San Antonio Police Department on the bike patrol unit.
And how long have you been employed with San Antonio Police Department?
30 years.
And how long have you been on bike patrol?
For the last 20 years.
Were you employed as a San Antonio Police Department officer on December 9th, 2017?
Wait, I'm sorry. Officer Prescott,
Yes, sir.
would you please raise your right hand?
Yes, sir.
You solemnly swear that in this proceeding, the information and responses you submit will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. The previous questions you were asked, do you agree that you are attesting under oath to the responses you gave?
Yes, sir.
Very good. All right. Sorry about that. Mr. Edelman, proceed.
Thank you, sir. And were you employed as a San Antonio Police Department officer on December 9th of 2017?
Yes, sir.
Now, what was your shift on that date, if you remember?
I was working a authorized off-duty job under the guidance of the police department.
From when to when?
On that day was, I believe it was between 8 o'clock in the evening to 3 o'clock in the morning.
Were you in uniform?
Yes, sir.
And would you please describe your uniform for the court?
It's the official bike patrol uniform. It's the shirt I have on with my gun belt, the badge, the video recording camera that they have us wear.
Now, even though you were off duty, were you acting in your capacity as a San Antonio Police Department officer?
Yes, sir.
And how would a person know that that was true?
The uniform I have on, as well as the permission from the police department to do so. We have to have it in written permission.
And did you have permission from the department?
Yes, sir. Signed by the chief.
Now, where were you working on December 9th of 2017 between the hours of 8 p.m. and 3 a.m. the
Excuse
following
me,
day?
Mr. Edelman, excuse me, just a sec. We're saying 1717?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Officer, do you need me to repeat the question?
Yes, sir.
Where were you working on December 9th of 2017 between the hours of 8 p.m. and 3 a.m. of the following morning?
At the Valencia Hotel at 150 East Houston Street.
And what were your responsibilities there?
Provide security and then for the establishment as well as the party that was being held at the location.
And what party was that?
It was the Republic EMS, Republic Ambulance, holiday parties.
Now, as part of your duties on that evening, did you encounter Michael Leonard Spratt Jr.?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and how did you first encounter him?
The host of the party pointed him out, said he was not invited, and they would like for him to leave.
Who was the host of the party?
Omar
If you remember.
Omar Adar was the president CEO. I believe the other individual that pointed out was named Daniel. I don't have his last name.
And
Excuse
did-
me, can you repeat the last name of Omar?
Adar.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And what, if you remember, did Mr. Adar tell you about Mr. Prescott?
It was Daniel that told me about Mr. Spratt. And he said he wasn't invited. They had issues with him and they would like for him to leave, and he was refusing when they asked him to leave.
Now, how did you proceed?
They pointed him out, took me over to him. He was sitting at a table, him and I believe his wife. I said that they would like for him to leave. He then questioned me as who was invited to the party. Isn't it an employee party of Republic EMS? I said, as far as I know, it was, but they are saying that you're not invited and you need to leave. He said he's not going to. I said, sir, either you have to leave or you get arrested for criminal trespass.
And how did Mr. Spratt respond?
He stood up, him and his wife, they started heading towards the door to exit the location. And at that time, as they took a few steps forward, he then turned and went straight for Mr. Omar Adar.
Now, could you clarify something for me?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Spratt was initially walking towards the exit, but then detoured in the direction of Omar Adar?
Yes, sir.
And how would you describe or characterize that detour?
It was in a hostile manner, as if he was going after him to confront him and not leave.
And how did you respond?
I went after him.
And by him, do you mean Mr. Spratt?
Mr. Spratt, yes, sir.
And did you say anything to Mr. Spratt in that moment?
I told
If you
him,
remember.
I told him to stop. As I was approaching him, his wife interfered. Mr. Spratt came back. I told him now he's under arrest for criminal trespass.
Now, at that point, how did Mr. Spratt respond?
He stated he was not going to go to jail, and he took a swing. As I stepped back, he knocked my video recording camera off my chest. Where it landed, I do not know. Someone returned it later.
Now, let's talk about your video recording unit.
Yes, sir.
What can you tell us about the video recording unit that you had that evening?
Well, sir, it was activated when I went to approach him. When it was given back to me, it was still on, but not recording.
Do you remember what model of recording device it was?
I can't remember the exact brand, but it was the first generation that we ever gotten. I think it was AXON.
And For how long had you been using this type of recording equipment?
Several months.
At what point, if you remember, did your recording equipment begin recording?
Sir, I activated it when I approached him. I had to reactivate it once it was given back to me.
Now, how did you activate the recording equipment? Was there a specific button that you needed to press?
There's a large button on the front of it. You have to press it twice and it activates. A red light will come on showing that it is activated.
Now, did you announce to Mr. Spratt at the time that he was being placed under arrest for criminal trespass?
Yes, sir.
And as far as you were aware, did you believe that you had probable cause to arrest him for criminal trespass?
Yes, sir. He refused to leave.
Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Ms. Wetland, your witness.
Excuse me, you're muted.
Good afternoon, Officer Prescott. So Officer Prescott, you indicated that you were doing a private security. How many times had you done private security for this company?
For the Valencia Hotel, I've been with them since '07.
Well, for this particular company, this particular EMS group.
I believe it was the second year that we've had their parties there. So
Okay.
Bob, this is probably the third time.
And who pays you for that?
The hotel pays me.
Are the police also paying you?
No, ma'am. The hotel pays me
And how much do you get paid by the hotel?
$40 an hour.
Have you had a chance since this incident to review your body worn camera?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you do that?
Shortly after the incident, when I finally got back to download everything to the computer system.
Have you reviewed it since then?
At the DA's office, yes, ma'am.
Okay, when did you do that?
Several months ago, I don't remember the exact date, they called me in for a pretrial.
And have you done it since then?
No, ma'am.
Now, would it surprise you to know that according to the records, which I don't have here, but that they indicate you only activated your camera 3 times that evening and only once during the time of your interaction with Mr. Spratt?
Yes, ma'am. When I reviewed it, I realized everything prior to the camera being knocked off my chest was no longer there. That's on the camera. I don't know why it was not there.
Well, you used a word just now. You said it was knocked off your chest.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so was it knocked off your chest? So explain that to me. How was it knocked off your chest?
When I explained to him that he was going to jail and he said he was not going to, he swung. As I stepped back, he hit the camera with his hand, knocking it off my chest, which is a magnetic plate on my chest.
Do you think your memory is better now or when this incident actually occurred?
Memory's the same, ma'am.
Okay, so, well, for example, if you told several individuals about what happened that night, the same night, do you think that that would be a more accurate, or if it was different in the video, would that be more accurate then or now?
I don't understand what you're trying to get at, ma'am.
Well, it's your testimony that you told him to stop, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And actually, it's also your testimony that he was turning toward Odar, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then you also indicate that he took a swing at you, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
After you told him he was under arrest.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Judge, at this time, did you take a video that evening?
The video on the body worn camera, yes, ma'am.
So, Judge, I think that we had already previously agreed that we wouldn't have to prove up these videos. Is that still our agreement, Mr. Edelman?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So Officer Prescott, was there anything else significant that you remember about this event?
When his wife stepped in the way and I had to get by her, he was upset about that downstairs. Other than that, I don't.
So well, tell me about that. His wife stepped in the way and you had to get by her.
Yes, ma'am. He was going towards Mr. Adar. As I was approaching him, his wife stepped in front of me, kind of like his shoulder checked into my side, and I had to get around her, and that's when he came back towards me.
And so what did his wife do when you had to get around her?
As in the fact that she stepped in and put her shoulder into me, trying to block me from going to him.
So she put her shoulder into you? That's what she did?
Yes, sir. She stepped in front. She tried to block me from getting to where he was at.
And he was at where at the time?
Heading towards Mr. Adar, away from the exit.
Okay, so how far away was that from you and his wife?
Probably within 10 feet.
Okay,
maybe
so
less.
so you're saying she put her shoulder into you, and then what did you do?
I went around her.
Okay. And you went around her, and then you, of course, approached him.
Yes, he came back towards me.
Okay. And that actually is kind of consistent with what's in your police report, right? Because in your police report, it says, I went to get AP and SP started elbowing and grabbing me. So now, was she elbowing you or was it her shoulder? Because her elbow's here, right? And
Yes,
her
ma'am.
shoulder's here. So what was she doing? Was she elbowing you or was she shouldering? Was it her shoulder that she put into you?
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance?
Any witness puts his veracity on the line, Mr. Edelman.
Yes, sir.
There's a distinction. You may answer, sir.
As I stated, she tried to block me. She used her shoulders. She used her body.
Okay, so did she use her shoulder, her body? I mean, because your police report says, I went to get the AP and SP started elbowing and grabbing at me, trying to get to where AP was. So that's what your police report says, officer.
Okay. Yes,
So
ma'am.
that's different than what you're saying, because you're saying, actually, what you just testified to under oath
Yes, ma'am.
was that she blocked you and she put her shoulder into you, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Her body, her shoulder, her elbows attached to
Yeah.
her body as well.
Okay,
Everything. I mean,
But that's not what your police report says.
if I had a copy of my police report with me, I could read it off just like you're doing that.
Well, do you need to see I am perfectly happy with you reviewing it. Did you not review it?
Yes, ma'am. I don't have it with me, so I can't read it off.
Well, you don't need to read it off. I'm asking you the truth. I mean, you're under oath.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
So
ma'am. And as I stated, she used her body, which is elbow is attached to her body. Her hands are attached to her body as well, to block me from getting to where he was at.
Well, this said, okay, so what your police report in fact says is, I went to get AP and SP started elbowing and grabbing at me, trying to get to where AP was. So according to your police report, she wasn't trying to stop you. She was trying to get to what your words were in your police report is trying to get to where AP was,
Yes,
right?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So which is true?
All of it is true, ma'am.
Okay.
She was trying to get, if I wrote in my police report that she was trying to get to where he's at, then as trying to go through me and block me from being there. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so, but you never put that in your police report.
No, ma'am.
And actually, in your police report, that you then say, so in your police report, she was trying to get to where AP was. And what your testimony just now was, she put her shoulder into you and you went around her to get to him and he came back toward me. That's what
Yes.
you just said.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
And then your police report says different. And then, let me see it. Let me see if I can figure out. I need just a second, Judge, to see if I can figure out my technology here. To try to get to a video. Oh, actually, let me ask you a few more questions before we go to the video.
Yes, ma'am.
So you say that then, well, so then tell me, so she put her shoulder into you, you went around her, he came back towards you,
Yes.
and then
what?
And then what?
I informed him he was under arrest for criminal trespass.
Okay, so then you informed him he was under arrest,
Yes.
and then what?
He said he was not going to jail. I believe my police report has more specific verbiage in there.
And then what?
And then he knocked my camera from my chest. I went to grab him. I grabbed his arm as he came by.
So then he swung, like, so to hit your chest?
I don't know what he was aiming at, ma'am. I know that he swung. I stepped back. My camera came off. I grabbed his arm, and we started to struggle.
Because according to you, your camera was already activated.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, how would your camera, because when cameras are already activated, how did it, because I've also checked the records of your camera. Your camera didn't have any repair records.
Okay.
I mean, you know that, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Because your camera was working fine.
Yes, ma'am. I reported the fact that the first part of that was not recorded. And I said I activated my camera, and they don't know why it did not record.
Well, it was kind of convenient that it wasn't recorded in light of the fact that his wife was accusing you of grabbing her breasts, correct?
She also
Objection,
accused the
Your Honor,
security guard that was
non-responsive.
there.
Excuse me, hold on. Mr. Edelman,
Withdraw the objection, Your Honor.
What?
he withdrew the objection. He
I said
withdrew
it-
the objection. Ms. Wetman, you may continue.
I said, so it was kind of convenient that it wasn't activated in light of the fact that his wife, a doctor, was accusing you of grabbing her breasts, correct?
She accused me, and it was found to be false because she also accused the security guard that was employed by the company of doing the same thing.
How was it found to be false?
They filed a complaint with Internal Affairs, and then they dropped it.
Yeah, because Internal Affairs didn't have any video, right? So they couldn't go yay or nay because no video existed.
The Internal Affairs did not drop it. The complainant dropped it. Internal Affairs doesn't drop it unless the complainant withdraws the complaint.
Okay. So why are you saying it was found? Why were you saying it was found to not be true then? Like, what does that have to do with
Because it wasn't true.
But like I said, even that evening, she accused you of grabbing her breasts and other parts of her body, correct?
She originally accused a security officer from Mr. Adar of doing the same thing. And she realized, I guess, it wasn't going to go anywhere, so she accused me, which was false.
When did all these accusations take place?
You need to ask the individual that made the accusations, ma'am.
I'm
She
asking
said,
you,
okay,
in the course of
upstairs while I was putting the handcuffs on Mr. Spratt, I heard her yell that this security and pointed at the ununiformed, plainclothes individual that's employed by Mr. Adar of grabbing her. I took him downstairs, and once we got downstairs, she changed her story and accused me of doing it.
Well, then why do you tell people that she was accusing you of grabbing her breasts?
No, I didn't say grabbing her breast. She said I touched her inappropriate. That's the way she said it out there. And I did not touch her. All I did was went by her.
Sorry, that kind of froze up for me. Can you repeat what you just said?
I did not touch her. I went by her. She accused me out there of touching inappropriate. She did not say I grabbed her breast or anything else at the scene. She also accused the security guard prior to accusing me of the same thing.
Okay. And this is the woman who you say in the one today, you say she put her shoulder into you. And then in your police report, you actually say that she started elbowing you and grabbing at you, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And then I need a minute, Judge. I'm going to see if I can get a video up. All right, and you know there were a number of videos taken that night, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
But your video, were other videos running at the time that the initial incident occurred with her?
I was, well, as far as the art department is concerned, I was the only one with the camera from the art department. I don't know about the other one.
But besides your department, well, you do kind of know about the other ones because there were other, I mean, you know that there were other individuals that were doing security with you that were running videos, correct?
They said they didn't have the one of them actually said their battery wasn't charged on their camera, and I don't know about the other one. If there is, then I have never seen them.
So can you explain to me, like, so can you describe the other two security that were, the other two people that were doing security with you that night, just even what they looked like?
One of them, both of them are males. Both of them were in plain clothes. I couldn't tell you exactly what they were wearing in those plain clothes. One was a black individual and one was a white individual.
And do you recall, so when you were involved in the incidents,
Yes, ma'am.
was anybody like videoing with a camera?
Not that I know of.
Was anybody videoing with a camera?
Not that I know of, ma'am.
Okay. So, so did they also were wearing body worn cameras though?
Yes, ma'am.
And so this initial interaction where you claim that, you know, Mr. Spratt was supposedly being arrested for criminal trespass, which actually, wasn't it Daniel that wanted him arrested, or nobody really wanted him arrested, correct?
He wanted him to leave.
Yeah.
And my job is to enforce the law, not policies. When they ask him to leave, if he refuses to leave, I informed him he will be arrested for criminal trespass.
But in fact, for criminal trespass, he has to be given notice by the individual, or at least a proxy of the individual, that he was not supposed to be there. And he actually went to go find the individual from the party, right? To go talk to him.
He was informed by Daniel, who is also one of the co-hosts of the party, and he was told he was not welcome. So that's what I was told when I walked up to him, that he was already told that he was not welcome there and he needed to leave.
And Mr. Spratt was actually had just been the vice president of the company, correct?
What he was employed as with the company, I don't know. That's not part of my knowledge.
Well, he was one of the individuals who founded the company, correct?
I do not know.
And he still actually works for that company. Are you aware of that?
No, no, ma'am.
Right. So on this day in question, when this incident happened, so you were going to tell somebody, like, and you had not checked into it with Mr. Odar at all, correct?
I didn't have to check with Mr. Odar. The individual Daniel was also one of the hosts of the party, and he's actually one of the ones in charge that was introduced to me as being in charge of the party.
But Mr. Odar was the one paying for the party and the name that was on all the paperwork, correct?
As far as I know, no, I don't deal with the paperwork. I just deal with when they introduce me to the people that are in charge of the party.
Okay. And so when you got your camera back, it was working, correct?
I had to reactivate it. I had to turn it back on. Yes, ma'am.
Have you ever known a camera, like, so when cameras are made to not come off your body very easily, correct?
It's with a magnetic device with a piece of metal and another magnet. They have been known to come off in fights. They've been come off on other times.
So you said it came off and it was knocked off,
Yes, it was knocked off.
and that was
Because it was when he took a swing, I felt it go. I didn't look down. I continued to do it, and someone gave it to me and says, "Hey, your camera was knocked off. Here it is." And somebody else handed it to me
okay. And when did they hand it to you?
when I was handcuffing Mr. Spratt outside the party.
And once he was handcuffed, Mr. Spratt was very complacent and just walked with you, correct?
Yes, we had to help him down the stairs. I told him, "Come on, let's go downstairs." Took him downstairs, set him out front. As we go downstairs, I called for more officers to the scene.
And any of the video any of the video with Mr. Spratt, he's extremely cooperative with you, correct?
He was agitated and upset during the videos, but he cooperated coming down the stairs. Yes, ma'am.
So I am going to see if I can go into a video here quickly and then share my screen. So I just need a second to see if I'm good enough to figure out. I'm going to show you a part of this video. Let me see if I can share my screen. All right. Can everybody see my screen? You guys, yes?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
So Officer Prescott, do you see those two individuals sitting there?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you recognize those two individuals?
Yes, ma'am.
And who are those two individuals?
That's Mr. Spratt and his wife.
Hold on just a minute. Are we referring to this as Defense Exhibit 1?
Yes, Judge, we'll call this Defense Exhibit 1.
Because I need to keep that on the record so we know where we're at. Defense Exhibit 1, all right, question, 2 people, all right, you may proceed.
And just for purposes of the record, this is the video that in my catalog, I mean, it ends in 803. I don't know, like I never have great cataloging of these videos, but it does end in 803. Okay, so you do recognize those two individuals sitting on the ground. And,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Spratt's wife and him are both sitting there on the ground. And
Yes, ma'am.
is that where you placed Mr. Spratt?
Yes, so I actually placed him closer to the left, but they moved down on the bench. But that's the bench I put them on. Yes, ma'am.
So I'm gonna play you a portion of the video. And just for the record, I'm starting it at 2 minutes and 34 seconds.
Yes, sir. Can you explain why?
Did you hear what he said there? Do you need me to play it again, Officer Prescott?
Because it did come out really choppy.
Okay, I'll go back. I might need Mr. Edelman to play it, so we'll see if maybe it's my internet.
Yes, sir. Can you explain why my wife was on her legs, on her breasts?
Did you hear him?
Yes, I heard him say, "Can you explain why you touched my wife on her legs and her breast?"
Yes, he said, "Can you explain why you put your hands all over my wife, who is a doctor, all over her legs, all over her breasts?" So,
I didn't hear him say doctor. I said,
well, that's what he says to you. He says,
okay.
"You want me to back it up?" He says, "Can you explain why you, if you want me to, I can back it up," but that's what he says.
Okay, that's fine.
And so I'll play it.
Yes, you did. Really? she wouldn't have acted the way
So then you said, well, here, I'll just play the rest and then we'll talk about it.
she did. She's a professional. She wouldn't have acted like that. You put your hands on her. I'd like you to ask. I'd like you to explain.
Did you ask me?
Yeah. So answer it.
Now, close your mouth and listen.
Answer.
I stood between there, she came by me, she pushed me away, I got hit right across through by her.
Okay, so now your version on the night that it happened, do you hear yourself?
No, I don't, because it's very choppy.
Okay, well, I will repeat it for you.
Please.
And did anybody else hear it? Judge, are you able to hear it?
More importantly, Ms. Wetland, I'm having trouble hearing it.
Well, I don't know if maybe it might be the computer. I don't know if Mr. Edelman can play it, but I can repeat it and then I will happily, have the court review this. But what you say is, let me see. Let me try to play it again.
You asked me?
Yeah. So answer it.
Now, close your mouth and listen.
So there you say, you asked me a question, so close your mouth and listen. I'll repeat it as you say it, and then we can talk about it.
Answer.
And he said, okay, let me answer. And then you said,
I stood between there, she came by.
I stood between there, she came by,
I mean, she pushed me away right there.
And
I got hit right
and she pushed me out of the way. I turned, I got hit right in the eye, and you point to your eye.
across through by her. I pushed her away.
By her. You say, I got hit right in the eye by her. I pushed her away.
You came over.
You came over.
I never touched your wife except for that bullshit.
I never touched your wife except for that point. And then he says bullshit. He calls bullshit on you. So I will ask you, can everybody hear what I'm saying?
I've heard what you said, Ms.
Okay.
Wetland.
All right. So the version that you summarized that night, and this isn't the only time you summarize it, I'll show you the other parts, but the version you summarized yourself in your own words was that she, the wife, supposedly punched you in the face.
That's what the video says. Yes, ma'am.
That's what the video says when you are confronted with touching her. And correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So today, so you didn't put that in your police report, right? So in the video you say she punched you. In your police report you say
I didn't say she punched me. I believe I said she hit me, but
oh, okay, hit me in the eye.
yes, ma'am.
Right. And that was when you were confronted by an upset husband, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Because he's pretty ticked off at you, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And
This is also after she accused the security guard upstairs, which is the black security guard, of doing the same thing.
I don't know, officer, because you didn't put any of that in your police report. We don't have a video of it, so we have to go by your video.
Okay.
So, or your testimony today. You didn't tell us any of this when you testified before under oath as to the truth, right? So was this false then? Like back, so you were lying to the husband at that point?
No.
Okay, so were you lying in your police report?
No.
Were you lying today?
No.
Okay, so which version are we to believe then? Are we gonna believe that she hit you in the face? Was that part true, or it's just like all of them are true? You just just
Ma'am,
changed
I
it?
did not arrest her for assault or for interference. I was dealing more on my police report with him.
Yeah, why was that? Why if this woman hits you, punches you in the face, would you not arrest her?
My major concern
Objection,
was
Your
him.
Honor. Ms. Officer Prescott has already stated that Ms. Wetland's characterization of the female as a punch is incorrect.
I withdraw it. She hit you, she struck you in the face, correct?
Hold on. For the record, there was an objection made. I overruled the objection. Now, continue, Ms. Wendland.
Sorry, Judge. So you say in this video that she struck you in the face, correct?
Yes, ma'am. She hit me. Yes, ma'am.
She struck, and yet you didn't arrest her.
No, ma'am. I was not injured. No, I arrested. I was more concerned with him because of what he did and the fact that I had to act physically get him under control.
Well, let's listen to what you say he did.
Okay.
There's no way she hit you. You're out of your fucking mind.
I'll speak to anybody
Get the
else.
fuck out of my face.
Oh, it's too late, sir. You're gonna
Get out of my face. I don't give a fuck. Fuck you.
Is this your current address?
I don't know. Figure it out.
Because then he's going to jail because he was pissed off at you, correct?
No, ma'am. He was upstairs. He was going to jail because he trespassed because he refused to leave.
But that isn't even what you say in here. In here, you completely skipped the part. Like, did you, when you just told this story on the video, you said his wife did this stuff and then he came in. Do you remember that? Like what you just said?
If that's what it said, it's like I said, the video is very choppy.
Well, I can go to the next time you tell the story, because I think you tell the story again at, let's see. I have another question for you, officer.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it common for you to go tell like what just happened in an incident multiple times afterward, even sometimes to lay people?
Most of them were the employees of the incident as well as the officers that were there. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I asked that because you actually did it in your later arrest too, right? When you arrested the guy for interference?
What is that? An interference of another case?
Yeah.
I haven't reviewed that one.
Well, the same night you arrested a guy for interference, the guy whose wife tried to kill herself. Do you recall that?
That's a totally separate incident. I haven't reviewed it. No, ma'am.
It is.
I do remember the incident, but I don't remember all the details.
It
I
is.
haven't even reviewed it.
Well, in that case, you got mad at the husband too, correct? And you arrested him for interference.
Objection, Your Honor, relevance.
It goes to a pattern, Judge.
I'm gonna sustain that at this point, unless you can tie it in a little better than you have.
I'll move ahead, Judge, because we'll go to the next time he in this. Well, actually, it's a different video. So, well, I'm gonna go back and I'll just see if this video plays a little bit better, just so everybody can hear this part again.
Yes, sir.
Can you explain why you put hands on my wife without taking on her legs, on her breasts? Yes, you did.
Really?
She wouldn't have acted the way she did. She's a professional. She's a physician. She wouldn't have acted like that. You put your hands on her. I'd like you to ask. I'd like you to explain.
Did you ask me?
Yeah. So answer it.
Now, post confidence.
Answer.
I stood between there, and she came by me, she pushed me away. I got hit right across the my hair. I pushed her away. You came over. I never touched your wife except for that.
Bullshit.
Okay.
There's no way she hit you. You're out of your fucking mind.
Okay. So now, even in that story, when you're talking to him, you never tell him that you were placing him under arrest, correct? Basically, it sounds like what happened was there was the incident with his wife, and then he came over, correct?
No, he asked why certain things happened. I told him that didn't happen, but he was already under arrest. He was informed upstairs that he was under arrest.
No, okay. I'm talking about before he was under arrest, or it appears at the time he was placed under arrest, this incident with his wife occurred. Could you guys see that video better, or was it still really choppy?
It was better.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna close this one out. We'll go to a different video. that's not the right one. Sorry, Judge, I just need a second here.
Excuse me.
Sorry, Judge, I had this one pulled up when I called you guys, and then I can't find where it went. I thought it was this one. Okay. So. And you're sure you're not leaving any other parts of the story out, right? When you tell this court like that this is what happened?
Yes,
Like-
ma'am.
Okay. I'm gonna see if I can share my screen again. Sorry, Judge, it's good. It's a good thing the courts are opening back up because I'm not very good with technical stuff. All right, so there it's on my screen.
Why is the quality of the video at this point so bad?
I have no idea. I don't know if it's because of my internet or because it's not bad for me. So so I think if the court were to watch this later, if we just refer to the specific parts, it probably would be better because on my end I can play it, but my internet is the highest I can get through Spectrum. So I don't know. It might also be, I don't know, something with my computer. So I didn't realize it was going to play bad for you guys. So so here is, I'm going to play you another part of this. This is part of your body worn cam.
Let me get your last name. It's Hutchinson. HUTCHINSON. What's your first name again? Alan, ALAN. I got everything else. And
Is this really choppy for you guys, or are you able to watch it?
Yes, ma'am. It's choppy, but we can watch it. And those are the two security guards that were employed by Mr. Adar.
Okay. Judge Longoria, are you able to hear it?
Go for it.
he no longer lives at this address. I didn't think so. Yeah, he's now in San Antonio. Yeah, I've seen him here before. I've seen her here before. Oh, yeah. Who the hell touched your legs?
Did you hear what you said there?
No, ma'am.
You said, who the hell touched her legs? Do you recall discussing that?
If it's on the video, yes, ma'am.
But you don't remember that.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious. At that point, I guess I was asking who touched her, to who, why was she accused somebody of touching her?
You know how it is. Yeah, it gets like that. She gonna bring it. I went there and said, "Hey, hang on." That's when she's going after him. I was like, "Hey, hang on." I said, "She threw elbows." I was like, "Really?" Well, I saw him trying to push you. That's what I came.
So do you hear that?
It's very choppy.
Judge, I don't know what you want me to do if you guys can't hear this. I don't,
We're gonna have to provide a separate copy of that so I can hear it clearly, because it's almost worthless right now.
Your Honor,
Yo,
I burned copies of all of these recordings to a disk and left them for you in your office, so you should already have them, sir.
I'll look for it. I remember seeing it.
it's hard for me to cross them when I can't.
Do you have access to it, Mr. Edelman, where you can play it now where it'd be clear?
I believe I do, sir.
I could tell you the times if you want to try it and see if that works better.
It would be easier if you gave me the serial number or the file name first, so I knew which.
This is actually
recording.
the one and only recording that we have from Officer Prescott.
I am exporting the file now, sir.
Thank you.
And I can try to play, like my technical advisor said, maybe if I don't full screen it on mine, that it will play better for you guys. So let me see if I can try that while and my sound quality will improve. That's what my technical advisor is telling me. Okay, so I'm gonna go up to this. Let's see. Okay, so. Okay. Let's try this.
She tries to push past me, and she, it's like, with and she starts swinging and everything else, and he dives in, thinking I'm doing something to her.
Did you guys hear that?
Yes, ma'am.
Was that better, Judge?
Somewhat, but I couldn't make out the totality of it.
I can try to back it up, and we'll see when Mr. Edelman goes, but I'll back it up a few seconds, and then we'll just talk about what's on this part of the video.
I said, it doesn't matter. If they want you to leave, they have to leave.
Could you guys hear that?
I heard something about they have to leave though.
Okay, all right, I'm gonna back it up a little bit more and see if I play it and if that's better for you guys.
Good. Nice, but you know where he lives? You know where that is? Was he the former employee? At this point, yeah. Because he told me, I said, hey, they want you to leave. Well, is this not a party for employees? I said, it doesn't matter. If they want you to leave, they have to leave. I don't. Oh, likely it'd be hers, right? We let him go, and she already crossed the line. Oh, he crossed the line, but he tried to hit me. That's when it goes too far. She's lucky she's not going. I know.
And so did you hear that, officer?
Yes, ma'am.
So you said he crossed the line when he tried to hit me, she's lucky she's not going in, right?
Right.
Okay.
It looks like it does. Because she went up there and he ran back to the back. So I went out to go tell him, hey, dude, push the luck. But she tries to push past me. And she pushed me like, whoa. And she starts swinging and everything else. And he dives in, thinking I'm doing something to her.
So did you hear that, Officer Prescott?
Yes, ma'am. I was referring to when he accused me of something, I told them that he's doing this because he says thinks I'm doing something to her. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Because basically the story you're telling right now on the video is, you say he goes to the back. You said it sounded like you had a conversation with him about leaving. You don't tell them that, you're trying to put him under arrest or anything for criminal trespass. You're not even saying that. You don't even tell these guys he's going to jail for criminal trespass. That's nowhere in any of your conversations. You would agree with that?
Not to that point. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so then, and this is all after the fact. This is when you're telling the other security your summary of what happened.
Yes,
and you said he goes to the back, she comes up and is throwing elbows, and that's when he jumps in thinking I'm doing something to her.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you don't tell that anywhere. You've told all of us that you were trying to put him under arrest. You don't say that he's coming to the defense of his wife, who he thinks you're hurting.
The reason I'm saying it right there is because he told me that's what he did. And so I'm relaying to them that that's what happened, because I did not know at that time when he came back at me that that's why he was coming back. He informed me later, which is not what happened. Yes, ma'am.
Officer, so it's your story now today that the reason you're telling these officers this is that you're giving them my client's version of events, not your version of events.
Partly both.
Well,
because he informed me of one thing. This is why he did it, and I told them this is why he's saying he did it. This is the events. But his mindset at the time when he came back to me, I did not know.
But at no point are you trying to place him under arrest. And at no point are you trying to place him under arrest for criminal trespass. He's coming to the defense of his wife.
So he says. Yes, ma'am.
So you tell them. That's what you tell them. You actually tell it one more time. You told it twice already. You tell it one more time. Do you want to hear yourself tell it again?
No, that's fine. I mean, if you're saying I said it, but I'm saying when at the time when he came back to me, I informed him he was under arrest for criminal trespass. This is.
At which point? After he's already involved, after he jumps in between you and his wife?
When he came back to confront me, yes, ma'am. That's when he was going for criminal trespass because he already refused to leave.
Okay, so
if he would have headed straight for the exit instead of going towards Mr. Adar, he would have walked out without trespassing. He committed trespassing when he refused to leave.
So now your version, even in this, at this point, you haven't said anything about criminal trespass. So now your version is that after he got in between you and his wife was when he was going to go to jail for criminal trespass.
No, ma'am. He was going to jail for trespassing because he refused to leave. It wasn't because that anything else. He refused to leave.
So it isn't more like you were manhandling his wife and he jumped in the middle?
No, ma'am.
No?
No.
Well, why
the reason he was going to go to jail is because he refused to leave the location when asked to do so by the people throwing the party as well as myself.
Okay. And we'll listen to that one more time just to make sure that we all are on the same page, and then I'll play it a little bit more.
I don't. Likely it'd be hers, right?
Can we let him go? Or does he already crossed the line?
Oh, he crossed the line when he tried to hit me. That's when it goes too far.
Okay, so there you say, he crossed the line when he tried to hit me. That's when he goes too far. Do you hear yourself say that?
Yes, ma'am, because they were asking, can you just let him go?
Mhm. Yeah, so the person that's having the party, because that guy there, the one that's asking to let him go, he's the guy that told you he wanted him to leave the party, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And so he never said he wanted him arrested for criminal trespass. You never even, criminal trespass is not just, hey, I want somebody to leave a party, and then you get to go arrest somebody. You would agree with that, correct?
If the individual refuses to leave when asked to leave, that's trespassing. Yes, ma'am.
Do you know that that case is already dismissed long ago?
Then, no, I didn't know, but that's,
Do you know why?
no.
Because they didn't have evidence to be able to show that there was anything having to do with a criminal trespass.
All right.
Objection, Your Honor, outside the scope of the witness's personal knowledge.
So
Sustained.
At this point, you're saying that he's going to go to jail because he tried to take a swing at you, correct?
No, I said he crossed the line at
Crossed
that
the
point.
line.
He was already going to jail for criminal trespass.
But you didn't say that anywhere.
Okay.
That didn't come up until later. So here, I'll play the rest.
It actually came up at the time that I told him he was going to jail for criminal trespass upstairs.
But you're supposed to be an officer. You're a police officer. You're supposed to always tell the truth. You're supposed to always. And even right now, you're under oath, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And so you would agree with me that your version in the police report is very different than what you're even saying on here, correct?
The fact that she interfered and that he was going to jail for trespass is the same.
Okay, so like I said, your police report says, and Judge, if I may, I know you don't have a copy, but I would like at this time to admit the police report as defense exhibit number 2. And that way the court can have it in front of the court, and I can get a copy over to the court.
State,
No objection, sir.
there being no objection, defense exhibit 2 is admitted.
So here, and so in your police report, so you testified that your body worn camera came off when he struck your chest, correct?
When he struck the camera, yes, ma'am.
Okay, but in your police report, you said he grabbed the camera and flung it to the floor.
If I had a copy of my police report, I could read word for word, ma'am, but I don't.
I'm asking you just for the truth of what happened. Did he strike it or did he grab it?
He swung towards it. I put down, he grabbed it, then he flung it off my chest. If I had a copy of the report, ma'am, I could read word for word. This happened in 2017.
But you said you reviewed everything, correct?
Several months ago, yes, ma'am, when we got called in for pretrial.
But wouldn't you remember the difference between being struck in the chest and having a camera flung to the floor?
If I said he didn't strike my chest, he struck the camera. If it grabbing it and flinging it or striking it, knocking it off my chest, he did not hit me. He hit the camera.
Well, you actually, you said he swung at you. So in your police report, you don't say he made contact with you.
I said he hit the camera, yeah, on both times so far, ma'am.
No, actually, in your police report, and I'll read to you what's been admitted into evidence. It says, he came at me, wait, it says, AP came charging toward me. AP lunged in a striking manner at me, yelling, "Don't touch my wife." I dodged his strike, but he grabbed the body camera from my chest and flung it to the floor.
Okay.
Then after that, I informed him he was under arrest.
Okay.
So now you're testifying completely different than that.
And like I said, if I had a copy of my police report, I could read it word for word. This happened in 2017, man.
And then you said, and then you could see him in your video, I guess, which is in evidence that he's very calm and very collected as he's walking down the steps with you, correct?
Yes, he walked down the steps with me. Yes, ma'am.
Mhm. So let's go to, I'm just gonna go a little bit further in the video.
Because they had no.
Okay, I'm gonna make this smaller. I'm gonna try to get it to play. I made it bigger. Okay. Do you recall this guy at the end of the night?
Yes, ma'am. It's one of the managers.
Okay. So.
Now you have to wait for transportation for me. Because they had no room in there. There was already packed. Yeah.
Hey, get her come right now.
No.
It's like I just wanted to enjoy the party.
Yeah, just kick back, relax.
Oh, it's like I just started a party. Yes, dude. Did you get busy or no?
He threw a punch. His wife fucking told him to leave. He said he's not going to leave. I said, look, you either leave, you're going to go out for trespass. He's like, whatever. He gets up, and instead of heading for the door, he takes off back toward the back of the room. And I kind of cut around to go get him. And his wife grabs me and starts pushing me and throwing elbows. And I'm like, whoa. I said, you need to calm down. I said, you need to back off. And I put my hands like this. But he comes charging from back of the room at me. Right? You don't touch my wife. And he went to push me, and I ducked. Grabbed him. I said, you're going to go to fucking jail.
Okay, so did you hear that, officer?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so there it is where, you know, you did, it sounds like you maybe did give him a warning, like if you don't leave, you're gonna go to jail for criminal trespass.
Yes, ma'am.
But you weren't placing him in, at that point, you weren't placing him in custody for going to jail for criminal trespass. We'd agree with that, correct?
Right. I told him if he doesn't leave, he goes to jail for criminal trespass.
And then he started walking, he walked toward the end, at the back of the room, according to what you just said. And then his wife came at you, started throwing elbows, and and then in this version, you did put your hands on her because you said you put your hands up on her.
I didn't say on her.
Well, you said.
I put my hands up, yes. That's what I heard on the video, but yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then he came charging at you, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And then you told him, now you're going to fucking jail, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So he was going to fucking jail because he was charging at you.
Yeah, that's what I told that individual right there. What I wrote in my report is what happened. If you.
Okay. So what do you mean? So you were lying when you were talking to this individual?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So what do you mean? Which you're saying you wrote stuff in your report. You told this individual, you've told several different versions. So is this version that we just watched the truth?
Ma'am, what had happened is what I told you already in what the police report says.
Well, the police report does not say any of these other versions of what you tell.
And can you read what he said to me when I told him he was going to go to jail?
Well, I'm basing it off of your writing in a
Yes,
police
ma'am.
report. I don't have a video or anything to that. So the truthfulness of that is 100% up to what you put in the report.
Yes,
And in
ma'am.
light of the fact that the rest of the report doesn't match any of the video, then maybe that's not true either. Anything else you put in it, correct?
No, ma'am. What I put in there is true.
Well, we already established that a number of things that you put in here are not what you tell people in this video, correct?
I don't understand what I tell people in the video, what I put in the report. That
Well, I'll replay this one.
I've seen that. Yes, ma'am.
I think there's even one other summary of what happens. So because you summarize it pretty consistently. Like you told them to leave, they didn't leave. You were not at that point making an arrest for criminal trespass, correct?
When he refused to leave and went back towards the
No, here's the thing.
Okay.
Maybe in your mind you were doing that, but it didn't happen yet, correct?
I don't understand what you're trying to get at, but
Well, obviously, if he's in the back of the room and you're fighting with his wife, he has no idea at that point you're trying to place him under arrest, correct? Officer, you said he was in a completely different part of the room and then he came lunging at you.
yes, when I was trying to get to him and his wife interfered. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So his wife interfered. His wife supposedly struck you.
Yes, ma'am.
And he's not even in the vicinity when this happens, but he comes, you're going to agree with, do you agree that he came to his wife's defense when you had your hands on his wife?
Didn't have my hands on his wife, and even in there it says I put my hands up.
Well, let me see what, let's go back and see what you say here. We'll listen to it one more time.
Now I have to wait for transportation for me
Where?
because they had no room in there. There was already
Oh, you're
packed.
booking it?
Yeah.
Hey, you can't ever come right back.
No.
It's like, I just wanted to enjoy the party.
Yeah, just kick back, relax.
Oh, it's like, I just started a party. Yes, dude. You get busy or no?
He do a bunch. His wife fucking told him to leave. He said he's not going to leave. I said, look, you either leave, you're going to go for trespass. He's like, whatever. He gets up, and instead of heading toward the door, he takes off back toward the back of the room. And I kind of cut around to go get him. And his wife grabs me and starts pushing me and throwing elbows. And I'm like, oh, I said, you need to calm down. I said, you need to back off. And I put my hands like this. And then he comes charging.
You're right. You said, I put my hands like this, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Hold your hands up. And then you said, and he comes charging, and then let's
Yes,
hear
ma'am.
From the back of the room at me. All right? You don't touch my wife. And he went to push me and I ducked. Grabbed him. I said, nah, you're going to go fucking jail.
So he comes charging from the back of the room. He went to push you, and I think and then you ducked. And then you told him you're going to go to fucking jail.
That's what I told the individual right there. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. And so then he was going to jail at that point for what?
For criminal trespass because he went back towards the back of the room instead of towards the exit like he was started to go to.
And so then at that point is when you then say, so he took a swing at you, you ducked, and then he was going to jail. Now,
That's what I told that individual. Yes, ma'am.
well, you keep saying that's what I told that individual. Yes, ma'am. Like what? Were you lying to that individual? Like what? Why do you keep saying it like that? I mean, are you in the habit of lying to people?
Not lying, ma'am. I just told that individual right there. I summarized it for him. My police report shows what happened.
Your police report where there's no body worn cam, even though there should be, correct?
Yes, ma'am. There should be. Yes, ma'am.
And there's no body worn cam because according to you, either Mr. Spratt swung and knocked it off of you, or he grabbed it and flung it to the ground. But whichever version works is the one we're going to use.
Ma'am, if I had a copy of my police report, I'd read it word for word. The part about the camera, I don't know why it malfunctioned. I don't know anything about the electronics of that camera. I just know it did not record after it was supposed to.
Well, it probably, could it be that it did not record when it was supposed to because you did not turn it on?
No, ma'am, I turned it on.
I'm sorry, what was the objection?
Well, the question is already answered, so the objection is moot.
And so then supposedly after that, so you didn't arrest his wife. Why again?
I was dealing more with him. He was the one that actually was more physical than anything else.
How was he more physical than anything else if it looks like he never even well, I guess it depends on your version, but it looks like he never connected with you. Like according to what you're saying, his wife is the one that hit you in the face and that Mr. Spratt never actually hit you. It says that he took a swing at you, but never actually hit you.
Objection, Your Honor. Compound question.
Well, is that,
Sustained.
so you say he's the one that's more physical, but yet she's the one that was, according to your police report, grabbing at you, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Compound question.
I'll overrule that. That's somewhat reasonably worded. Can you answer that, officer? If you can't, just say so.
If you repeat the question?
Well, you said that he was more physical with you.
Yes,
correct?
ma'am.
Okay. But according to your police report, he actually never connected with you physically, correct?
I believe in my police report says once I grabbed him after he knocked the camera off or grabbed it or flung it to the ground that I was trying to arrest him and he resisted arrest after he was informed he was going to jail for trespassing.
Well, your police report says that he started swing at me with his closed fist and open hands. So is that what you mean where he resisted? He started swing at you?
Yes, ma'am, if that's what it says.
Okay. So that means if he just swung at you, he did not connect with you, correct?
Yes, ma'am. He went for resisting, not assault.
Okay. But he didn't connect with you with that swing. And
Yes,
so
ma'am.
then even taking it like with what is in your police report? So then the next one is W2, which is somebody else stepped in and grabbed SP1, which would be the wife, while W1 assisted with the AP1. We
Yes,
removed AP, where we removed AP from the party room, where he still, quote, struggled to get free from myself and W1. So,
Yes, ma'am.
so you said he took a swing at you and he struggled to get free.
Yes,
correct?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
According to your police report.
Yes, ma'am.
And then that's basically it, because then you say you had your body cam on and when the judge watches it, he can see that Mr. Spratt is calmly walking down the stairs, correct?
Sure, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so okay, so he's not the one that ever grabbed you, according to your report. It was the wife that grabbed you, correct?
That's according to my report. Yes, ma'am.
And he's also not the one that struck you, according to your report. He just
Yes, ma'am.
took a swing at you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. I pass the witness.
Officer,
Yes, sir.
were you in full uniform on that evening?
Yes, sir.
Were you informed that Mr. Spratt was not allowed to attend this particular party?
Yes, sir.
Did someone with apparent authority give you that information?
Yes, sir.
Did Mr. Spratt arrive at the
Sorry to
party?
cut
Did
off.
he arrive at the party?
Yes, he was at the party.
Did you inform him that he needed to leave?
Yes, sir.
Did he leave?
No, sir.
Did you attempt to arrest him for criminal trespass?
Yes, sir.
Ask the witness.
Objection, Your Honor, asked and answered and leading. Because we already went through this, but it's leading. I mean, Mr. Edelman's just kind of trying to kind of get around Officer Prescott's already testimony.
I'll sustain the leading.
Your Honor, since the rules of evidence are suspended for hearings to determine the admissibility of evidence, and since the prohibition on leading questions for direct examination is a prohibition set out in the rules of evidence, it would seem that the prohibition against leading questions on direct examination is similarly suspended, is it not?
You are correct, Mr. Edelman. I'll withdraw my ruling. How's that?
Thank you, sir.
Well,
And since Officer Prescott,
Hold on. Hold on. Hold
If I
on.
may respond.
Hold on a second. Okay. Now, what else were you saying, Mr. Edelman?
I was going to continue that since Officer Prescott had seemingly already answered the question before Ms. Wentland lodged her objection, it would seem to make the objection moot.
I would just like to respond to his that there's no rules of evidence. The rules of evidence still apply in a motion to suppress hearing, and there's a reason why, with hostile witnesses to the defense or with the state's own witness, which he is both, that there's not supposed to be leading questions, because obviously, if you lead an officer, I'm sure Officer Prescott's going to say yes, yes, yes to anything that Mr. Edelman says. And so I think it's to the court's discretion and really to the benefit of this hearing to get to the truth of the matter to not lead. So I would disagree with Mr. Edelman that leading questions are just, the rules of evidence are not completely suspended for a motion to suppress hearing.
All
They're
right,
just,
well, I'm going to stick with my ruling at this point, and I assure you it's not going to make a whole lot of difference. Continue, Mr. Edelman. Wrap it up.
That's all, sir.
Okay, anything else, Mr. Edelman?
Nothing further for this witness, sir.
Ms. Wentland.
nothing further for this witness, Your Honor.
All right. May the witness be excused. Mr. Edelman. Mr. Edelman,
Yes, he may.
Ms. Wendland.
I would ask just he be subject to recall. I am going to confer with my client if my client wants to testify, Judge. So I would just ask him for right this minute to be subject to recall.
All right, officer, if you'll stick around, there may be possibly some need for you to continue your testimony.
Yes, sir.
All right. Mr. Edelman, any further witnesses?
No, sir.
Ms. Wendland, call your witness if any.
Judge, could I just have a second to mute myself and call my client on the phone just to confer with him briefly?
Since he's on there, tell him to mute his side too.
Okay. Hopefully I'll figure out how to do that myself.
Your Honor,
Yes, ma'am.
I sent you a message on your phone.
Okay. All I gotta do is find my phone. I'll be right back. Okay, folks, right now it is 3 o'clock, heads straight up. We're gonna take an 8-minute break.
Yes, sir. Your Honor, if you're speaking to us, we can't hear you.
Officer Prescott will be excused too, Andrew, if he wants to go.
I have a few more questions that I overlooked.
Judge, we can't hear you.
All right. I had to reboot this thing. Can y'all hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ms. Wetland,
I'm not going to call my client right now, Judge. I believe that Mr. Edelman wants to recall Officer Prescott, though.
Yes, Your Honor. I have a few additional questions that I overlooked, if the court will allow me to ask them.
yes, sir.
Officer Prescott, please keep in mind that you remain under oath.
Yes, sir.
Do you see in the virtual proceeding the person that you encountered on December 9th of 2017?
Yes, sir, I did.
And would you identify that person by an article of clothing?
Oh, let me pull his picture back up because now I no longer see him. He's looks like he's sitting in the car. He's wearing a pair of glasses. Mr. Spratt has his name underneath.
Let the record reflect that Officer Prescott has identified the defendant, Michael Leonard Spratt, Jr.
The record reflects that that is his testimony.
Nothing further, Your Honor. Pass the witness.
Ms. Wetland, anything else?
No, Judge, nothing. No, no, Judge. We rest in close.
So now is the witness excused?
Yes, Judge.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Officer, you're excused. Stay safe.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Anything further, Ms. Wetland?
We have no further evidence, Judge, just argument.
All right. Mr. Edelman?
Yes, sir. Under Article 14.01B, a peace officer may arrest an offender without a warrant for any offense committed in his presence or within his view. The testimony of Officer Prescott, which is not contradicted by any other testimony presented to the court, is that Officer Prescott was working in full uniform. He was advised by a person with apparent authority that Michael Leonard Spratt Jr. was not allowed at a particular work function, that Michael Leonard Spratt Jr. appeared at that function, that Michael Leonard Spratt Jr. was informed that he needed to leave, that Michael Leonard Spratt Jr. did not leave, and therefore committed the offense in the officer's view of criminal trespass. That properly activated the officer's authority. Therefore, the evidence collected by the officer is properly admissible as a result.
Anything else, Mr. Edelman?
No, sir.
Ms. Wetland?
Your Honor, she's logging back on.
Okay.
All right, sorry, everybody. My computer that was just decided to all of a sudden start buzzing and telling me it had to update. So I apologize. I didn't get all of Andrew's, whatever Andrew said.
He related the details of basically of the officer's testimony. It is you have the floor, Ms. Whitman.
Well, I missed his, so I can't really respond to his because I missed it. And I no longer have my screen in front of me with all my statutes. But I would put to the court that the veracity of this officer and the conflicting things that are seen in the video, and the fact that conveniently we don't have a video, which I did not, I will proffer to the court that I was able to have a very helpful individual from the custodian of records educate me on the videos. He did educate me, and if necessary at a trial phase, I would be able to let the court know that that this officer's body worn camera was only activated 3 times during the course of that night, and 2 times were for an incident that happened hours later, and 1 time was for Mr. Spratt, and that there are no records of any type of repair or anything being done in this camera. So the camera should have been functioning.
Your Honor, I apologize for interrupting Ms. Wentland. However, none of this information is actually in evidence.
And that's fine, Andrew. Like I said, it's a proffer because I did not subpoena I did subpoena the custodian of records, but I did not make them be here. And if we go to a trial, I'm just proffering that would be what would show up at a trial. That, you know, that and these actual original videos have now been purged, but the district attorney's office does have copies of them. So the subpoena was informative, just in light of my ability to get all that information about the way that they do things over there. They said they purge stuff automatically at the 2-year point on misdemeanors, which, you know, this case is from 2017. But that being said, I think that if the court feels like it needs to review the videos, I think the videos will be more accurate and more close in time. And you can tell from the videos what happened in this case was, I think that they did ask him to leave. I don't believe that it meets the elements of criminal trespass, nor do I believe that this officer was actually in the process of effecting an arrest for criminal trespass. Even what he testified to doesn't make sense. I mean, he wasn't at the time that anything occurred between him and Mr. Spratt. Something happened between Mr. Spratt, or between this officer and Mr. Spratt's wife, when Mr. Spratt was not even present. And then it would appear Mr. Spratt came to the defense of his wife, and that's when this officer made the decision that he was going to jail. That I do not believe rises to the level necessary of probable cause. In addition, if you look at the way they charged this case, this officer testified that at no time did Mr. Spratt grab him, that was the wife, and at no time did Mr. Spratt strike him. That was also the wife. And that's also in his police reports. Yet the charging instrument and even the paperwork that was done at the MAG office, that was the probable cause for the resisting arrest. So I put to the court, even with all of, if you were to take him at the truth, which I would put to the court that the court should not take him as telling the truth in this case, because he clearly changes his story multiple times. But even if you took it at the truth, that it did not rise to the level of probable cause to effect this arrest. And therefore, we're asking the court to grant the motion to suppress.
Perhaps Mr. Edelman or Ms. Winton, you can both help me. It is my impression that the officer informed, from the testimony, the officer testifies that he informed Mr. Spratt that he had to leave and that if he didn't leave, he would be jailed. Then the witness, the officer testifies that my impression is that Mr. Spratt was leaving. Am I incorrect? Because when he's at the back of the room, he's no longer right there with the officer. What is going on? If anybody can tell me what their impression is?
May I speak, Your Honor?
I'm asking you, yes.
My impression was that Officer Prescott testified that Mr. Spratt appeared as though to leave and then moved in the direction of Mr. Adair, indicating an intention to stay and in fact remaining. And at that point, completing the offense of criminal trespass, having been informed that he needed to leave and refusing to do so.
Well, isn't Mr. Adair, or whatever the hell his name is, wasn't he the one that gave the officer the command or the order that he wanted Mr. Spratt to leave?
I believe so, yes.
Now, if
Actually, I think that the Daniel guy did, but yeah, I think that it was there was some confusion there, but yeah.
So at this point, we don't know if Mr. Spratt was going to ask Mr. Adair if he would relent or let him stay, or if he had any authority to kick him out or not. I don't know. The person that appeared to be in charge is Adair or whatever.
Politely, Your Honor, whether Mr. Adair might have relented is not relevant to the question of whether Mr. Spratt had already completed the offense of criminal trespass. He was informed that he needed to leave. He refused to leave. The offense at that point is
that's
completed.
my question. Did he refuse?
There was no testimony that he refused to leave. And in fact, I did not put Mr. Spratt on the stand to prevent us from being here for another hour. But I would also proffer, as an officer of the court, that Mr. Spratt was in the process of leaving. So,
Well,
and that's what his testimony would reflect. So
that's not in the evidence, but it's not clear to me that he actually refused to leave, because the officer testified that he told him to leave. He appeared, from the officer's testimony, my impression is that Mr. Spratt appeared to be leaving or preparing to leave. And then there was some form of incident between the officer and Mr. Spratt's wife. And that changed the whole thing from, I don't think he was charged with criminal trespass, right? He's charged with resisting, or is there a second charge?
the criminal trespass was dismissed probably about 18 months ago.
So he was charged with both, Your Honor.
Okay.
But that case was also reviewed and they knew that there wasn't enough there for criminal trespass, and that's why it was dismissed. And there wasn't even probable cause for the criminal trespass, but we didn't.
Well, regardless.
Yeah.
The fact that so if there wasn't enough for the criminal trespass, what was he resisting? I am not impressed with the case, but nonetheless, it does reach the level of.
Judge, before you make your ruling, could you watch the videos and compare them to the police report and to his testimony?
I think that's a very good idea. I'm just not impressed with the case, but they don't have to impress me. I'll look to see what the videos look like more clearly. I heard the testimony and I've heard the cross-examination. I'm not impressed, but the levels that have to be reached are not very high. I'll just see whether they reached that through the videos. And I will look for that video that you provided, Mr. Edelman. All right. I will hold in abeyance a ruling on that. Anything else from either one of you, Mr. Edelman,
Not at the moment, sir.
Ms. Whitland?
Nothing from the defense judge, other than I will send over the times. And also, even if you review, I think some of the, if you compare the police report with the videos, Judge, and then the testimony, I think that you have to remember for the resisting arrest, he has to use physical force actually against the officer. So struggling or pulling away from officers under case law is not enough for a resisting arrest. Even making your body stiff or prone or not making it easy for them to arrest, you must actually use physical force against an officer. And this officer testified, I would put to the court that taking a swing at an officer, even if that was accurate, was not using physical force. And that's what his police report says, if you base it on what his police report says. So,
All right.
and in his police report, he says that, he grabbed the body worn camera and flung it to the ground. I also would put that's not, he's saying it's magnetic. If you take it for the accuracy or the truthfulness of what he's saying, that too would be physical force against an instrument, not at the officer. That maybe they would have had something for some type of other charge, but not resisting arrest. And I think also not criminal trespass.
Well, we'll see what the video says, and then I'll make a ruling. All right. Then at this point, thank you both for your professionalism. We're all excused